Molly Hornik, and she started talking to me about voting and numbers that didn't add up for Mamdani. And I yelled at her. I said, listen, I don't want to talk about this stuff because it takes the onus off of the many, many, many real New Yorkers who actually live here that voted for that guy. I don't believe that he won because they flew in a bunch of Muslims or because he stole a bunch of votes. I really believe that he won because New Yorkers are morons. And they were excited about the free stuff, and they're enjoying hating on the Jews, and I don't want that to go away. So my fear is when we start talking about, well, the numbers and they cheated, then we start making excuses for what is becoming a dumber and more hateful society. But if there is some impropriety going on, some cheating going on, then it's my responsibility to tell that story as well. And Molly Hornik, you're at the very, very top of that. Excuse me. So, first of all, good morning. Second of all, Vicky Palladino, the great Queens councilwoman, is looking forward to having you on. I guess, have you reached out to her to talk to her about this?
I've spoken with her a little bit about it. Yep, I've met her a bunch of times. She's an incredible force, amazing woman.
She is, yes. So what is the message you want to deliver this morning? What happened with Mamdani, where all this research is coming into play right about now?
Right. So actually, I really appreciate the way you framed this because I actually don't know whether Mamdani won the mayoral race, and I'm not here to say that he didn't. The problem we uncovered is that the New York City and the New York State boards of elections have no idea if Mamdani won the mayoral election either. And that's where the rubber meets the road here. And that's because it's actually the very opening of the United States Constitution says we choose the representatives. That way we maintain control over the laws we must obey. And that is done by the state of New York and all the other states promising to qualify every voter according to state law. So we asked a simple question at RealAmerica.Vote. We said, let's look at the 2025 mayoral race. Let's look at their official records. Did they or did they not qualify the voters? Because, again, it's not about Mamdani exactly. I mean, I think a lot of people really don't like the guy. A lot of people across the country are worried about the guy. But the question is, did the election officials make sure we chose this mayor?
That's a fair question. So what did the data actually tell you?
Well, the shocking news said, and nobody better than you to break this story.
Okay.
7% of the voters in that election do not exist.
They don't exist.
They don't exist.
They could be dead. No. They're not even illegals. They just don't exist?
No, they don't exist. They never existed. They don't exist now. They won't exist in the future. They're not in utero. They're not dead. They don't exist. The president actually talked about this last Thursday in his speech. He said, we're finding voters who don't exist. Well, we're finding the votes that they voted in Mamdani's election.
And they all went to him?
Well, I don't know.
Well, that's part of the...
and neither does the New York City Board of Elections.
We need to know some of those people that don't exist voted for Cuomo or Sliwa.
Right.
Or maybe even Eric Adams. I don't know.
And we
I would imagine it was Mamdani, though, yes.
Yes, it's difficult to know. But we also found that 6% of the voters have Social Security numbers that the SSA, the official government website, calls impossible and invalid. So they have fake Social Security numbers, but they're voting in New York City and New York State elections.
And do you think these are people here? Do you think these are foreign entities? Like the president made the case for China last Thursday night? Who's taking advantage of some of these flaws?
There is probably a lot of different people taking advantage of these issues. I don't know exactly who is creating these problems, but I know who was responsible for preventing these people from voting, and that is the election officials. They have a constitutional requirement under the United States and the New York State constitutions under the Voting Rights Act. They are culpable here. And I want to say, I want people to know right away that all of this is in the hands right now of the United States Attorney for the Northern District, John Sarcone, and the FBI field office in Albany. They are aggressively investigating this issue, and they are prepared to prosecute.
Good. Actually, John Sarcone reaches out to me quite a bit to come on the program. I do owe him a text back. John, if you're listening, I'll get back to you. I promise. I'm glad to hear that you're on our side.
He's a great patriot. You got to have him on.
So, but you're not saying here, you're not even intimating that the mayor is involved in any of this. You're placing the blame on the Board of Elections. You're not saying the mayor is in cahoots with them, are you?
Look, if you're a candidate or a party, you have an interest in votes, right? If you get enough of them, then, you go from being Joe on the street to all of a sudden you have the power of life and death over the constituents in that district. Right. You have the right to order people around, and you have a monopoly on force against those people. So there's always an incentive to cheat. That's eternal. You can never take that away unless you could somehow make men into angels.
They were saying if you added up Cuomo and Sliwa's numbers, because Curtis's was so pathetic, Mamdani still would have won. And looking at the difference between Cuomo, who actually did a decent job, got over 40% of the vote, and Mamdani, if you assume that Mamdani got every one, I'm not defending Mamdani here. Nobody hates him more than me. You know that. Nobody. But if you assume that Mamdani got every one of that 7%, he still wins.
Right. So here's the issue. His margin of victory is 207,000 votes. We found over 230,000 votes, and we have another 1.2 million voters to study. So out of 2.2 million voters, we studied about 1 million of them, and we found more votes that are apparently illegal than his margin of victory. Again, the issue is not whether or not Mamdani won. The issue is whether or not the boards of elections in New York are actually counting fair elections so that we are properly represented as we are constitutionally granted.
I think it's both. I think Mamdani absolutely won. Absolutely, because I've never seen an audience so enthused about a candidate like I did last year. I mean, I would talk to people on the street. They couldn't wait to vote for this guy. And I think the Board of Elections was derelict in their duty. It's both. You look what happened in New Jersey yesterday with their governor, Mikey Mohammed Sherrill, right? She admitted this. 6,600 votes out there, only 400 took advantage, but there was nearly 7,000 votes to be had. That was New Jersey yesterday. It's not just New York. It's going on all over the country.
Agreed. And I want to bring you back, too, because I have a major lawsuit in Albany, in the Northern District right now, a civil rights lawsuit against Tish James and the New York State Board of Elections. And among the many, many things we cite in that lawsuit, we caught them counting 435,000 votes in elections without any voter associated at all in their records. So their records don't show that anyone cast those votes, but they counted 435,000 votes. And that's from 2020, 2022, and 2024. So it's not like this just slam hit us with the Mamdani issue.
That's not new.
And maybe they didn't do the right thing in 2025. This is a chronic thing, and we have been trying to get redress on this for 5 years.
Why Tish James in that lawsuit? What are you saying that she was guilty of?
Well, actually, it's a First Amendment lawsuit because when New York Citizens Audit, my first organization, was going all over the state, I trained 2,000 people. We went to over 500 towns in New York State and reported the anomalies we found inside of the New York voter rolls. And what happened was the State Board of Elections, they started sending letters around and accusing us of being liars and saying, no one's ever seen the data. This is unequivocally false. And then Tish James, she joined in the party. She actually, on the front page of Newsday, the front page of the Times-Union, this is where I found out I was under a criminal investigation. She opened an investigation into us under the Ku Klux Klan Act.
Wow.
So we said, hey, it looks like there's about 6 million problems in the voter rolls. Are y'all going to fix it? And they just retaliated. So this is a major civil rights lawsuit, and they have been trying to get rid of, these auditors, these processes for years. And finally, we've got this in the hands of a criminal prosecutor, federal U.S. attorney.
Is Todd Blanche ever going to see something like this, or is that too above the pay grade, probably?
No way. This is huge news. And actually, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We want to run entire elections. We want to run Zeldin's complete election.
Do it all over again?
No. Not rerun the election. We want to ask the same question there.
Sure.
Did the state qualify those voters? Did they qualify the voters for Chuck Schumer, for Letitia James, for Kathy Hochul, for AOC? Maybe they did, but let's find out, right? Because if they didn't, then we need to fix this problem
moving forward. Sure, 100%. Well, you're not, if you wanted me to run for mayor, you're certainly not giving me any motivation to do that because I'm not going to win anyway. Now you're telling me they're going to cheat, too.
No, we're going to fix it.
We're going to fix it?
That's why we're here, Sid.
Okay, so then as we wrap up this very important conversation, you're terrific, Marty. Thank you so much. Realistically, I know you got John Sarcone on the case, and maybe he gets to the Attorney General at some point. I don't know. But realistically, when can something like this be fixed?
Well, that is a great question. And I know that John Sarcone and the FBI office up there, they are aggressively investigating this. They want to fix it as quickly as possible. And there is a lot of precedent for this because when election officials don't qualify voters, they certify false tallies, which is a federal crime that people have gone to prison for since 1888.
Wow. Where can people find out more about all this data and what you guys are doing every day?
RealAmerica.Vote is the website. You can follow me on X, Marley Hornik 1, or RealAmerica.Vote on X.
Great job, Marley Hornik. Good to see you. I see you at every event now. I see you everywhere. Now you're inside the studios.
I was stalking you because I knew that you really wanted to report this story.
No, I did. And you did a great job of doing that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon. That is Marley Hornik, everybody. One more time, RealAmerica.Vote. And find out exactly what's going on and why there are issues seemingly still all over the country, right here in New York City.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?